All your life, you've dreamed of becoming a writer. You never doubted that decision. That's why when you get to university, you took journalism and literature. You hope to one day see your works being showcased in all the bookstores you could think of, lined up on a glass window where every passerby can get a glimpse of your work, recognizing your well-deserved fame. To your left and right will be the works of your colleagues and competitors, those you deem to also be masters of the craft. You once admired them, but that's before you solidify your place as one of the greats. Hoping to turn that image into reality, you set out to do your best. You wrote as much and as best as you could, knowing success doesn't come easy. So when you find yourself at 49 years old working a dead-end job at a post office somewhere, making barely enough to get by, telling yourself every single day that your writing would eventually take off, you start wondering whether you've been falsely led by your dreams. You wonder if this is as far as you go. You wonder if following your passion was even worth it. Such is the life of German-American poet Charles Bukowski. He would eventually go down as one of the most influential poets of recent times. Bukowski received an offer from a friend when he was 49 years old to quit his job and dedicate his time to writing. When faced with this opportunity, Bukowski said the following: "I have one of two choices. Stay in the post office and go crazy, or stay out here and play at a writer and starve. I have decided to starve." Now, of course, this decision eventually worked out very well for him, but that's at the expense of spending over 2/3 of his life, almost the entirety of his adult life, shambling around and barely getting by. Was Charles Bukowski a successful man? The typical average middle-class man of today lives an infinitely more comfortable life than Bukowski did. Are they successful? Is the key to living a good life following your passion, despite that implying that you will likely spend most of your life in discomfort trying to make ends meet? We sometimes shame others we deem as mediocre, as not being exceptional, as not having the guts to follow what they really want out of life. But is there really anything wrong with wanting to be comfortable and secure? Why do we try so hard to be exceptional?
Because I want to be great.
And you're not.
I want to be one of the greats.
The 2014 movie Whiplash tells the story about a boy named Andrew who desperately wants to be one of the best drummers in the world. Andrew takes drumming very seriously, up to the point where there's little room for anything else. He doesn't have any friends. The only potential girlfriend he had, he dumped because he saw her as getting in the way of his drumming. He spends his free time practicing drumming with a pack of band-aids nearby in case his damn fingers start bleeding again. And when he's not practicing the drums, he's listening to music to practice rhythm. Though few of us are willing to put the literal blood, sweat, and tears Andrew put out in his drive to become one of the greats, we find it easy to relate to him. We understand the part of Andrew that desires mastery and success. We are able to easily relate to Andrew because the issue of success is ultimately an issue of identification. Andrew's desire for mastery in drumming is his desire to be fully defined, to understand himself completely, and to be able to acknowledge himself in a way that is easily apparent to him as well as others. Drumming is who he is. It is not his passion, it is his identity. The moment he stops drumming, he stops being himself. On the surface, it's a bit difficult to understand why someone is so hell-bent on repeatedly smashing two wooden sticks on a variety of surfaces so that a sequence of particular sounds are produced. However, understanding that the relationship between Andrew and drumming is fundamentally an issue of identity also allows us to understand why he never lets anything get in the way of his drumming. Not a potential girlfriend, not his mentally and physically abusive teacher, not even a literal car crash is enough to stop him. This is why he brushed off his dad when he told him to consider other options. For Andrew, there is no such thing. The existentialist Jean-Paul Sartre elaborates on this notion of identification. He conceptualizes this idea as a consequence of having consciousness. Unlike animals, we are confronted with our own existence and what to do with it. We look at society and we wonder, how do we fit in? We want to feel like we understand our existence completely, why we exist, and in what way we're supposed to exist. To this end, we pursue and manifest our own persona, our own brand, our own personality. We want to be acknowledged and acknowledge ourselves as a clearly defined thing. It asserts our existence to have a clear and distinct role within human society. We want to have a clear label imposed upon us to make sense of existence. We want to be a teacher, we want to be a computer expert, we want to be that funny guy in class, the helpful friend, maybe even the guy that everyone loves to hate. Anything to avoid feeling like existing doesn't make sense, anything to not feel like we're invisible, anything to avoid feeling like we just don't know who we are. However, human beings are never only one thing. We want to be a teacher, but we don't want to just be a teacher. We try so hard to fit into an idealized identity and role within society, but we also refuse to be oversimplified to that role. We want others to see us as a multi-layered individual, capable of different opinions and modes of behaviors. We don't want to be boxed into a label. We want to be acknowledged as a person rather than just a robot with a clear role and function. To start, this is the basic lack of humanity. The moment we fully define ourselves based on a concept, a job, a clearly defined role within society, we are compromising the rest of our individuality. To understand this concept better, let's take a look at an anime about a washed-up idol singer that slowly loses her grip on reality. Perfect Blue tells the story of Mima Kirigoe, an idol singer who decides to quit being an idol entirely to try and have a shot at being an actress. However, this transition proves itself to be anything but a smooth sailing. You see, Mima's fans aren't so happy about this. Idol culture is known to have such devoted fans that don't mind spending most of their paychecks on posters, merchandises, and the likes. She receives death threats for her decision. Also, one of her more fanatical fans have decided to stalk her in real life, leading to Mima constantly feeling like she's being watched. She also found out that apparently someone on the internet has been impersonating her by writing a series of diary entries describing how her day goes. As Mima reads through these posts, she realizes that what's written there exactly portrays how every single one of her day goes, which train she took, where she went, what grocery store she shops at, everything written with an uncanny degree of accuracy. All of this amalgamates to Mima feeling like her past is always haunting her, so much so that she starts having visions of another Mima that constantly tells her that she's a fake and a fraud because she's no longer an idol. This apparent split within Mima's psyche is the perfect example of Sart's conception of the basic lack of humanity. Mima's decision to quit being a singer is her asserting her individuality. It's her saying, I am not just one thing. I am more than just an idol singer. I am a whole-ass person. She wants to be whole. She wants to be fully realized as a person. However, her fans don't see it that way. Her fans see her actions as an act of betrayal. Her betraying her ideal self. Her betraying what she's supposed to be. This is how a society is able to understand individuals, by putting labels on them. Mima Kirigoe is an idol singer. An idol singer is who she is. Anything that shatters that image is a betrayal against Mima, even when she herself is the one doing it. Deep down, Mima herself feels this way. This is represented by the other Mima that keeps appearing in what seems to be her hallucination. This other Mima would go so far as killing anyone that facilitates and supports Mima's career change. This is her desire to be a fully defined member of society. Her desire to remain in her deeply rooted identity as an idol singer. It is never clear in Perfect Blue what's merely a part of Mima's delusion and hallucination and what actually happens in the story, and this gets worse as Mima herself slowly loses her grip on reality. This establishes how, ultimately, we fail to overcome the basic lack of humanity. What is there to do then if all projects fail? We now know why we try so hard to be exceptional, but why bother trying if it's bound to fail anyway? Maybe mediocrity is what we should strive for. After all, if you don't try to define yourself, society will define you. a given identity will be given to you, something that doesn't require much thought or effort. Should we all just de-individualize ourselves and give up on personalization entirely? Once again, I find myself turning to another story that sheds some light to the problem at hand.
やっぱり私社会人に向いてないのかな。つつましく生きようと頑張ってんだけどね。そこんとこどうなのよ、平八さん。まあいいや。そう自分に言い聞かせて、私は毎日を何とかやり過ごしている。
Solanin is a movie based on a manga series about dreams, aspirations, and life in general. It revolves around a couple, Taneda and Meiko, as they and their friends figure out what it means to be an adult, what it means to be a part of society. Taneda, along with two of his friends, has a band that they all started when they're in university. And the series is mostly about the struggle of the band as they shoot their shot at stardom. Now, this might sound like every other drama out there, but this is where everything cliché about Solanin ends. You see, we don't get to see Taneda's band slowly rise to stardom. We don't see them becoming rock stars. We don't see any of them traditionally succeeding. In fact, Taneda dies at some random traffic accident midway through the series. And even at the end of the series, the band is still nowhere near famous. What's great about Solanin is it's also not some bleak, pessimistic, edgy view of life either. Every single character in Solanin is painfully mediocre. They're young people in their 20s who haven't really achieved anything in life. And the series makes sure this message is drilled into your head as you read through it. However, as flawed as they are, you can see for them, having the band was never really about making it big. They simply wanted to play music, and they wanted to make music. As they try hard to figure out their place in the world, they keep going with the band because for them, no matter what life throws at them, as long as they get to play, they would come to realize that, hey, maybe things are not so bad. Solanin understands very well how hard it is to even live a simple life as a normal, functioning member of society. It understands how existence is ultimately hard for all of us. The pseudo-idealization of mediocrity in Solanin showcases that following your dreams isn't equal to not having a job. It's not really about blindly following your passion while abandoning everything else. Maybe it's all about figuring out who you are as a person, finding things you identify with, finding things that scream you, all the while knowing that it will never completely define you, knowing that it will never give you the ultimate peace. But that's okay, because that means you will always be more than your role in society. You are living a contradiction, and that's okay. Maybe Socrates had it right all along. Maybe all we have to do is to live while examining how we live, to constantly seek out what rings true to us, to be okay with being lost, not knowing what to do, and then trying our best anyway. Maybe it was never about whether or not we are mediocre. Maybe it's whether or not this undoubtedly mediocre existence is filled with activities that we find meaningful. Live for the sake of living. The things that you do should never be a means to an end. They should be the end themselves. Maybe we don't have to abandon everything to follow our dreams. Maybe living a simple, quiet life with our loved ones are meaningful enough. Or maybe that's the lie we tell ourselves because pursuing what we really, truly want is excruciatingly difficult. But maybe that's why we idolize those of us who do.